Tsumugi fucking sucks. As I have iterated time and time again, I do not think Junko Enoshima was a good mastermind or a good antagonist for the Danganronpa franchise, and unfortunately Tsumugi follows a lot of the same footsteps. Well, which, I mean, that's kind of natural, obviously, given the law of the game, but I still think things could have been better for her, and they should have been given what V3 tried to be. V3 tries to diverge and be different and be something that isn't like what we've had in the last games, and yet it just ended up basically fitting the exact mold of the previous mastermind, which really is not what I wanted to see. So I'm going to talk about how I'd fix Tsumugi, because they had the opportunity, but completely fucked it up. Number 1, more screen time, okay? Despite living as long as she did, Tsumugi didn't really have that much screen time, and the screen time that she did have was spent on her saying or doing things that left very little impact. So, you know, because there are characters that don't have much screen time, but the things that they say and do, they last and they're significant. You know, characters like Rantaro, Sayaka, or Byakuya from, Byakuya the imposter from Danganronpa 2, they didn't live very long, but a lot of their scenes and things they did were impactful, and yet Tsumugi lived for like 5 times as long, and yet had nowhere near as many impactful or emotional moments as those characters did. Why is that? You guys are likely aware that one of the main criticisms I point out regarding Junko is the fact that she's never actually there, and yet they had the chance to remedy that issue with Tsumugi, but they completely squandered that opportunity. Tsumugi is alive for the entire game and yet has no impact in the first 5 chapters of the game. What is the point? I get it, that's the point, she's supposed to be bland and boring, but just because something's the point doesn't mean it's good. Maybe that point should have been scrapped, and they should have tried to, you know, make a new point instead, a point that would have been much more impactful. And that leads quite nicely into my next point. Number 2, drop the whole plain shtick entirely. It just doesn't work. The point of this idea is to shock you later on, because the self-proclaimed plain and boring girl just so happens to be the mastermind. Whoa! But by doing this, they crafted the most boring and soulless, plain, just completely outright flat mastermind ever, who left zero emotional or dramatic impact on 99% of players. I say 99% because, yeah, there are some Tsumugi fans, and I'm sorry if you're a Tsumugi fan watching this. I know you probably don't appreciate the points I'm trying to make here, but I hope you can at least understand where I'm coming from. Numero 3, give her more personal relationships with characters, okay? This is kind of, you know, linking to the last point of just getting her more involved, okay? Even just one super deep friendship or relationship could work wonders, okay, at making her character more interesting. She's like the one character in the entire cast who had literally like no friendships or significant relationships with anybody whatsoever. Unless you include Kaede in like chapter 1, but that was entirely one-sided pretty much, so I don't really think you can include that. But, you know, it doesn't go beyond chapter 1 anyway, so it means nothing ultimately. I suppose you could argue it wouldn't work because the entire premise is that Tsumugi is supposed to not be too involved. Obviously, yeah, Tsumugi, the character, the front that she puts up is there and she can do something with that, but like behind that, obviously, Tsumugi knows she's the mastermind, so she doesn't want to get too involved for that reason. And I get that because she's not supposed to get too involved because of her true nature, but by befriending people she would make them feel despair later on, which is not only completely in character, but makes complete sense for the themes of the franchise at large. So, in a way, I can kind of get the counter-argument you may wish to make there of, well, you know, she's the mastermind, she doesn't want to get too involved, but she will also make people feel ultimate despair if she becomes BFFs with everybody, and then all of a sudden, woo, turns out she's actually the bad guy. Because the betrayal doesn't work nearly as well as she'd probably want it to, because, well, she doesn't really get involved with anyone. And I get it, she wasn't originally planning on revealing herself as the mastermind, but you'd surely think of that as something that's going to happen, given the fact that it's happened in the past, right? And you'd want the characters to feel the despair from that. And yeah, they still felt the despair, but it wouldn't be nearly as intense as if she was actually fucking friends with them, which she wasn't, really. She didn't really get involved with anybody. Number 4, expanded character arc, traits, and just overall personality, okay? This is kind of just a summarizing point of all the ones I've made previously. But there's just no reason for Tsumugi to be as bland as she is, okay? That entire gimmick just amounted to borderline nothing and left us with a plain as shit mastermind who who had the potential to be everything and one of the greatest antagonists this franchise has ever seen, if not the greatest, but it was just completely thrown out the window, okay? Because like I said before, one of my biggest complaints about Junko is the fact that she wasn't involved. Junko appeared in Chapter 6 and that was it. We were supposed to care. We didn't, I didn't, and I know a lot of other people didn't as well. But Tsumugi was different because she was there. She was there the entire time. They had the opportunity, the foundation to fix the problem, but completely squandered that chance. Why would they do that? Give her some character, some depth for Christ's sake. Sure, it'd all be fake and forced, but that would make the ending even more despairing, as the characters would learn that their close friend had been putting up a dramatic and complex front the entire time, which adds even more layers to this whole thing, which would not only make the game better, the ending better, but Tsumugi better, which is the point. Oh, and the themes, it's just making everything better. But no, what we got was frankly the bare minimum from Tsumugi, herself, and the writers. It's not good enough, and I am gonna sit here and criticize it all day long. I know you guys are probably sick of me constantly ranting about why I don't like the masterminds, and yeah, this is probably one of the last videos I'm gonna do on the subject because I've kind of exhausted what I can discuss about these characters, but I talked about how I'd rewrite Junko, and I thought I would do the same for Tsumugi. Not exactly the same points being made, some of them will be some parallels of course, but Tsumugi had a much different foundation and one that could have been much better, and I feel like for that reason Tsumugi being as boring as she is annoys me more than Junko being as boring as she is, Because they had the chance there, they literally had the foundation, but they just squandered it, gone. Anyway, thank you all so much for watching this video. If you did enjoy, please consider leaving a like and subscribing down below, because I make weekly, sometimes 2 videos a week, on Danganronpa. So if you enjoy that, like I said, subscribe, join the channel if you want to support me, it would mean the absolute world. Thank you to Ella for being a super proxitor, she's been with us for over a month now, that is amazing. Anyway, thank you all so much for watching once again, and I will see you all in the next one. Peace out.